Hello, 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 and welcome. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Thank you for joining me. Happy Tuesday. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. Plant Powered Brothers is a movement I created that helps Black men 40 to 60 escape the silent fear of strokes, pills, and lost manhood and reclaim their health, confidence, and leadership at home through real food, real community, and real change. Let me say that one more time, like I do every week. For who? The cheap seats in the back. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. Thank you for joining me. Happy Tuesday. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. Plant Powered Brothers is a movement I created that helps Black men 40 to 60 escape the silent fear of strokes, pills, and lost manhood and reclaim their health, confidence, and leadership at home through real food, real community, and real change. Come on in and get settled. Now, as you guys know, anybody who's been following me for a while, I've been doing this for a while, for a minute, as the young folks say. I spend a lot of time talking about health, a lot of time talking about community, a lot of time talking about stress, a lot of time talking about my combating hypertension and being on medication and being off medication and what I eat and that type of thing. This is kind of another version of that. So we'll not be talking about that necessarily directly tonight, but in kind of a roundabout way. I will be talking about two things that are very important and very significant when we decide to claim our health and decide this is part of the real food, real community, and real change portion of the program, folks. So grab your pens and paper, get ready. Oh, by the way, since you are grabbing your pens and paper, there will be homework tonight. I don't know about you, but when I was a young kid, I loved homework and extra homework and homework during the summer. Incidentally, that's probably why I didn't date much until I was in my 20s. However, that is a topic for another discussion. Let's just say I have always enjoyed studying, learning, being creative, and homework. So, with that in mind, let's hop right in. The name of tonight's talk is Checks and Calls. Checks and calls, the simple fix to 90% of life's problems. Let me say that again for the cheap seats in the back. Checks and calls, a simple fix for 90% of life's problems. Now, family, I believe if you are like me, you are overloaded with what is going on in the world today, what is going on in the planet today. There's so much going on. There has always been so much going on. It seems as if things have been amped up a bit. And I know for a fact that the way to combat that is to KISS. Now, apparently, you can't say that anymore because that's not PC and blah, 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 and all that business. In the 80s, when I first heard this term, and we were running around saying it, KISS stood for Keep It Simple, Stupid. Now I think you're supposed to say Keep It Simple or Keep It Uncomplicated. I like the big punch in the face, the punch in the gut that is Keep It Simple, Stupid. So we're going to keep it simple, right? As we move on with this. So keeping it simple means, in terms of all the stuff that's going on in our lives, not even the world, right? But just your daily life, the business, going to work, staying healthy, kids, paying bills, trying to stay ahead of things, trying to stay on top of things, trying to figure out what we're going to do next. We run around so many times trying to overcomplicate things and we overcomplicate them and then wonder why we're exhausted, right? So we're going to KISS tonight. We're going to talk about that. So, in my opinion, what this all dovetails wonderfully into is most things in life can be solved by two things, right? They can be solved by two things, either a checkbook or a phone call. Let me explain. For those of us who don't know what a check is, or those of us who haven't used a check, that is simply a stand-in for money, for cash. So when you hear me talk about a checkbook or a phone call, when I'm referring to checkbooks, what I'm referring to is the financial aspect of life, right? The financial duties that we have, the financial obligations we have, the financial choices we get to make. because we decide what money does and what it doesn't do. It doesn't decide for us. We decide for it. All right. So everything can be solved by a checkbook or a phone call. The checkbook is money. The phone call is relationships. So everything in life on some level is about one of those two things. Now, I know my folks watching who know me and know how spiritual I am and how committed I am to my spiritual practice and have been for a number of years will say, why is he talking about money? Or that's a hush hush subject, or that's a dirty topic. You shouldn't bring that up. Wrong, wrong, wrong on all accounts, right? This is why I say that. Money touches every aspect of our life. Relationships touch every aspect of our life. So there's no way you can have any kind of problem, any kind of decision to make that doesn't involve one or both of those entities, money or relationships, a checkbook or a phone call. Let's keep it going. Now, if you can, let's start with the checkbook. So let's resource our peace. Let me say that again. Let's resource our peace. Boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen of all ages, there's nothing like being able to write a check and handle a problem and have it go away. Let me take you back. 2014, I bought my first house. We bought our first house together. It was my first house, buying my first house at 40, I think it was 45. Yeah, it must have been 45. And what they don't tell you in the brochure, what they don't tell you when they're showing you these lovely houses and all the things you can do, and you're imagining all the things you're going to be able to do, the dinner parties and the friends that'll come over and the sleepovers for grandkids and blah, 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 and the tea you'll have in the morning and the coffee you'll wake up. They don't mention all the things that can go wrong, the 1,001 things that can happen. Because if they mentioned that, probably nobody would buy a house. But I digress. Now, I immediately, after we moved into the house, we started having problems. The big one that I remember, and we may have had other ones, or it may have been one before this, but the big one I remember is that we had both toilets flooded, right? We had a little house on the side, we had an apartment in the back, both toilets flooded the same day, the same time. So then we had to have somebody come out and fix them. I am not a plumber. I was not about to grab a plunger or some tools and start fooling around with the toilet. That's not what I do. Those are not my gifts. And I'm happy I will own it outright. Those are not my gifts. I didn't even want to see what was going on. Now, when it happened, my husband simply called a plumber. He called me first, and then he called a plumber. The plumber came out, looked and said it's going to be this kind of money, blah, 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 blah. We ended up uh, paying way more than I would have because I didn't want to pay anything. But the fact remains, when that problem presented itself, I was presented with a bill. Of course, I negotiated a lower bill. That's what I do. I was able to write one check. It was done, over, kaput. We were done with that, right? We resourced our peace. We paid for peace. This is my recommendation for all of you. When you have car trouble, unless you're a mechanic, don't crawl under that hood and start fooling around. Just don't do it. Leave all that nonsense. Leave all that to somebody who is a professional with that and can do that. Right? I have some wonderful people who change my oil constantly in my car. They know me. I come in every couple of months. They tell me what needs to happen. I tell them what I'm willing to pay. We do it. We're in and out 15 minutes. No muss, no fuss. So we want to resource our peace. Same thing with health. If you have a health issue, pay somebody to help you with it. Pay for a coach. If you can afford it, pay for a home delivery of a whole food plant based meal. They do have them. As a matter of fact, I'm going to talk to a couple to see if I can get some sponsors. That's a different topic. But pay for peace. If you have health issues, pay somebody to help you with that. Join a gym. Get yourself a coach. I totally believe in coaches. I have had more coaches than you can shake a stick at, right? Some of them have been really great. Some of them have been okay. I've had three or four really, really exceptional ones. Lisa A. Smith, Coach Mike back in LA, Colette Duvall, who else have I had? My professor who taught me filmmaking at USC, Rafael Angulo, wonderful coach. So I've had exceptional coaches. Pay for peace. These people gave me coaching and insight and guidance on things I didn't know anything about. They gave me coaching, insight, and guidance on things I was trying to do where I thought, okay, maybe I can go to a 4. And they said, no, you need to go to a 10. I was able to do that. Let me throw in Brooks Elms in there as a matter of fact as well. He pushed me to go from writing a short film to writing a feature. I think I could do it, but it's been done. Let's move right along. Okay. Um, I did mention homework, so let's get to that. Okay. So here's an action step. Take stock of your life this week or tonight, if you will, or whenever you're watching this, and look at one issue that you have in your life that you're stuck with. And ask yourself, what would it cost me to get a solution for this issue? What would it cost me? A couple of minutes ago, I mentioned the solution for these flooded toilets was pay a plumber and have them unflood them, if that's a word, have them clear stuff up, have them take care of it, and then we can move on and do something else. What is the solution costing you, right? And can you write a check for it? The solution might be you might have somebody come clean your house. I'm a big believer in that, right? I like a nice, clean, sparkly house. I have a thing about that because my grandmother, who recently passed, I never saw her house dirty. I never saw her house unclean. Now, she was always talking about cleaning it. Maybe she did it when I wasn't there. I don't know. But I have a thing about, you want to come home after a day's work or wherever you've been to a nice, clean home. So many times I have paid for that, right? Rather than have me do it. I mean, I could do it, but rather than have me do it, I can have somebody else do it, pay for peace, resource my peace. I can have somebody else do it while I'm doing this kind of work. I can have somebody else doing it while I'm writing and thinking about the next project I'm going to do. So it can be done. Maybe you need a good therapist, right? I'm all for therapy. I think if you are a person of color, if you have been marginalized in this culture, you need a therapist at some point, at some stage in your life, you need to get one. Maybe you don't need one for life, maybe you don't need one forever, but at some point you should definitely investigate, explore, sign up and get yourself one. I've had many, right? They are worth their weight in gold if they are good. You don't have to stick with one if they suck. You can move on and get another one. All right, so that is your homework to find something that you've been stuck with and figure out what it would cost you for the solution and then go and do it. Okay, before I move into the next step about phone calls and connections, let me talk a little bit about a way that I was able to combine both of them. Now, many, many years ago, when my husband and I first got together, I was 43. It was in 2011, so it's been almost 15 years. When we got together, it was 2011, and for the first time in my life, I'm almost ashamed to admit this, but we're being honest. For the first time in my life, I figured out how much money I needed to not only survive, but thrive from month to month. Now, I had never figured that out at 43. Now, luckily, in the context of this relationship with this new wonderful man in my life, some kind of way we had a conversation. He set me down. He mentioned some kind of way it magically, deliciously worked out when I sat down and crunched the numbers. And we sat down and crunched the numbers. When we sat down and crunched the numbers, when I sat down and crunched the numbers, I realized, hey, light bulb moment, I am running an $800 a month deficit. Let you sit with that. That means I'm $10,000 in the hole at the end of the year, every year for a number of years. Now, I don't know about you folks and what you know about business, but if there was a business that was losing $800 a month, somebody would be fired. There would definitely be some retooling of the process and the processes and things that were going on, right? Somebody would be let go, or at most, or at least given a very stern talking to. That was a stern talking to I gave to myself. When I noticed that at 43, I was $800 in the hole every month, once again, looking at a problem from the standpoint of a checkbook and a personal relationship, right? A connection. When I learned I was $800 in the hole every month, it was a revelation for me. I remember thinking, oh, this is why I never have any money. This is why I'm always broke. It's not because I'm an artist. It's not because I'm too old. It's not because I haven't figured out money. It's not because I'm not working. It's because I'm $800 in the hole every month and didn't know it because I had never looked at my finances that way. I had never looked at them with that fine tooth a comb, if that makes sense. I never looked at them that closely. Let me clean it up. I never looked at them that closely. Once I looked at it and realized I was $800 in the hole, then my immediate thinking was, well, let's stop digging. If this hole is $800 a month, let's put the shovel down and stop the digging, right? Then I was able to turn it around and start saving money and putting stuff away. And I realized very quickly, okay, here I am living in one of the most expensive states on the planet, in the country, California, Southern California, as a matter of fact, right outside of LA, and I'm saving a crap ton of money. I'm not making more money, but I'm realizing where most of it is going. I'm realizing, okay, you're running an $800 a month deficit. So let's not do that. So that is an example of the combination of a checkbook solving the problem as well as a personal connection. Now, let's move into the final stage, or mention a personal connection. Now, everything can be solved by a relationship. If it's not a financial issue, it's probably a relationship issue. So many times, it's easy for many of us to hold grudges, to ghost people. I've known people that have held grudges so long they don't even remember what the original slight was. They just know it's something they didn't like, right? And that's enough to keep it going. Let's not do that anymore. So the second step is connection. Maybe you need to make a phone call. Maybe you need to reach out to a person. When you reach out to them, you can say, "Hey, maybe it's not a negative thing. Maybe the conversation goes like this: Hey, I wanted to thank you. I was thinking about you. Hey, I'm sorry for X, Y, and Z. I'm sorry for not getting back to you sooner." Maybe the conversation goes like this: Let's start again. I didn't like the way we left that. When I was at home recently, about a month ago, yeah, about a month ago, I had some very hardcore, riveting conversations with a number of my family members. Now, I'm not saying that everything got resolved in 24 hours, but there's something about putting things out on the table and people sharing their personal experience of you and of what happened, right? That was an opportunity to deepen the relationship. That was an opportunity to change something. So it can be done. Now, that is your action step to reach out to figure out who you need to call about cleaning up something, saying thank you, showing gratitude, asking, hey, I'm going through this right now with such and such an issue. Do you have some insight into this problem? You're farther along on the continuum with your finances. You're farther along on the continuum with what it looks like being married. These are all valid reasons to connect with people. All right. So you've got two homework assignments. That's exciting. I don't know about you, but that's very exciting to me. Now, before you crash out, the next time you get ready to start being a whirling dervish, as they say, and spinning out of control and crashing out, ask yourself these two questions. Can this be handled with a checkbook? Is this a financial situation I can resource my peace? Or is this a relationship issue? Do I need to clean up something with somebody? Do I need to offer some gratitude and appreciation? Do I need to get clear about what I meant when I said X, Y, and Z? Ask yourself those two questions before you spin off into the ether, okay? Now, final shots. And when you do, keep your heart open, your wallet ready, and your phone charged. Let me say that again. Keep your heart open, your wallet ready, and your phone charged. All right, I'm going to get out of here. I've been here long enough. Hopefully, you've got something out of it. It's something that's been on my heart for a while. Get some plants on that plate. Eat like you got some sense. Please stay away from the deep fried foolishness. Take care of your loved ones. Allow your loved ones to take care of you. And remember, my name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, mad, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled That Plant Life. Oops, sorry, that was the old title. New title, back up, rewind. I am the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. Plant Powered Brothers is a movement where I help Black men 40 to 60 escape the silent fear of strokes, pills, and lost manhood and reclaim their health, confidence, and leadership at home through real food, real community, and real change. Let me say that one more time, like I do every Tuesday for who? The cheap seats where? In the bag. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are on the planet. My name is Anthony Carter. I'm the host, producer, creative genius, madman, and brilliant mind behind a movement entitled Plant Powered Brothers. Plant Powered Brothers is a movement I created that helps Black men 40 to 60 escape the silent fear of strokes, pills, and lost manhood and reclaim their health, confidence, and leadership in the home through real food, real community, and real change. Take care of yourself, take care of your loved ones. I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.